This might work out just in case.
All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 6:05. This meeting of the Fern Bluff Municipal Utility District as Board of Directors has come to order. Roll call of directors. All directors are present. At this time, Director Horton, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
I'd be proud to. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Horton. All right. This is part of the evening where we usually do citizen communications. Do we have anyone sign up to speak? Ms. General Manager? No? All right. Noting no citizens here for citizen communications, we will move on. Let's jump to item number 6. We have a presentation this evening by Shannon Hamilton, the Executive Director of the Central Texas Water Coalition. We would like to give the microphone to you at this time.
Thank you so much for having me. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay, great. I am the Executive Director of Central Texas Water Coalition. We were established in 2011 during the last drought, and were able to make some significant changes with the water management plan, just a group of volunteers on our board that saw a need to protect our water. And here we sit again in another drought that is potentially the new drought of record. Okay. So our focus at the Central Texas Water Coalition, our number one focus going forward at this time is going to be the water management plan directly with the Lower Colorado River Authority. And that will open in March of 2025. So obviously it has our full attention, especially at our current lake levels. We work on addressing the low inflows and the impacts to the water supply with this population growth. We do have a hydrologist that is wonderful and has lots of information, keeps us up to speed. We're trying to work on preventing the overselling of our water because currently our lakes, LCRA just voted to reduce the reserve to 10,000 acre feet. Yes. So with the latest contracts in January, we had a reserve of 50,000 acre feet, but they had new contracts come in. It was considered available water under today's water code, so it was required to be sold. So that's our current reserve for combined Highland Lakes, 10,000 acre feet. So that's something we'll be focused on as well, and protecting that reserve. We're really working on conservation efforts, especially at this time. And we have many meetings at the Capitol now. We are told if this drought continues, obviously El Nino didn't hit, the next session will be a water session. And we are going to need major changes to make us sustainable for 2.5 million people. There we go. So the last time our lakes were full was October of 2019. They filled in late 2018. That took 2 hurricanes and a flood. And we all remember that Memorial Day and then the Kingsland Dam that broke, or not dam, I'm sorry, the bridge that broke. That was our last horrific event. And sadly, we plan for those events. Everything with the water management plan is based on a flood. We haven't had a hurricane. We haven't had another flood. Our lakes depleted way too quickly. So in 2023, these are our inflows. The light blue line is the historical average. The dark blue line is the drought of record and how much water we had flowing into the Highland Lakes. And that purple line is 2023 actuals. It was the 4th worst inflows in the history of the Highland Lakes. You can see in August, we had 91 acre feet flow in for the entire month. We were using at that time, evaporating, releasing, whatever, we dropped 2,800 acre feet a day. So, and I'm sure y'all know, an acre foot is 325,000 gallons of water. And we were losing 2,800 a day. In 2022, it was the worst ever. And the January did not, in an El Nino year, did not help us. So what we have seen is 9 out of the last 10 worst inflows ever have all occurred since 2006. And there are studies that are being done, like Ivy Dam had a big part of that, but still that last drought and the explosion of impoundments, the stock ponds, the dams that have gone up on in the upper basin is preventing water from flowing into our lakes, and it's reducing our water supply. So January, we actually only got, in an El Nino year, 33% of the amount of inflows during the drought of record. So this is not sustainable. This is our big concern and what we keep talking about with LCRA and anybody that are all of our legislators in the area, that it was 19% of the historical average, and that's that light blue line, but it's only 33% of the drought of record. So they do expect the new drought of record is going to be declared in September, October timeframe if we don't get a flood. So currently we are, when we look at comparisons, we are from 2024, February 1st, we were 8,700 acre feet more than we had in 2013. So, but we are, see how we are just following that drought of record line. And we are sadly, I'll just share with you, here's our drought monitor. So you can see the edges are our basin, and the dark, we have, where we need it to rain is still in significant drought. And unfortunately, east of 35 has gotten lots of rain. LaGrange got 12.5 inches in a couple of days, where Llano in our watershed got 3/4 of an inch. So it's just not raining in the right places. We have, so I'll share with you, a dry line that has moved and it's sitting directly over us. So what happened to El Nino? That's what everybody wants to know. And technically we still are in El Nino, but it has been very dry. So it is reducing in strength, and they are predicting that come September, October, we will be back in full La Nina. And like I said, a new drought of record will be declared, and they will go through mandatory curtailments of 20% at that time. A lot's going to happen. So why didn't it hit? And this is, we worked with our hydrologist, we worked with the state climatologist and David Yeomans on this, and the importance of it. When they declared El Nino, there was a normal El Nino in 2015. You see all that beautiful red, and it shows it's coming, and the temperatures in the ocean. But this time, there in that other on the right-hand side, that blue, that's cold water off the Pacific. Every time that has existed, we've had a dry El Nino. Now, when we rose this many times to LCRA and their planning and asking, actually, we had 5 county commissioners show up at LCRA with us, say, we've got to stop releasing water. And their meteorologist said, no. We have so much faith that this El Nino is going to be so strong that it's going to overpass that cold water. And our concern for the people and the 2.5 million people that live here is, but that's not what historically tends to happen, unfortunately. And it hasn't to date. We still have the spring. They're hoping for a flood. But during these dry El Ninos, 2015 was an El Nino year. Our lakes only went up 7 feet. 2009, it was a good year, 23 feet. But 2002, our lakes only went up 2 feet. We did go up 2 feet at one time, but we've used all that water. That's gone. So we are still hovering at that 630. And this is a big portion of why the dry line has moved. This is actually a chart from our state climatologist. And they always say everything east of the dry line is wet and west of the dry line is dry. Well, that dry line is now sitting directly over us. So this isn't something that's going to change. This is our new normal, unfortunately. So the probabilities, this is a NOAA slide I wanted to show y'all, and this is what LCRA agrees with, that we are quickly transitioning, that strong El Nino is declining and La Nina is just coming back in, and there's going to be a very small window when we may go back into neutral. But we could get some rain for the spring, but that whatever we get this spring is going to have to get us through summer and potentially more La Nina years again. So these are Region K slides, which they're going through the process right now of updating. We have obviously a huge population demand coming, and they say that we're going to hit 4.5 million people by 2050. That's terrifying to me. I don't know where everybody's going to go, but that also means a direct reflection of how much water we're going to use. So the lines are going up, and we don't have any new water supplies coming. So this is a slide that our hydrologist, we've been sharing. Our hydrologist created a model for us that shows the LCRA models are based on historical average and drought of record. And we keep saying, but we're not getting that much water. The inflows are not coming in. So the sad reality is if inflows stay exactly the same where they are, then we could potentially be out of water before 2027. And if we get a bump and we get the same amount of inflows that we had in 2013, then we can get out to 2030 if the inflows stay the same. So we need to really get a hold. LCRA did a study. It has not been released yet. We are asking for it, but they did a study with Texas A&M and then Texas State to determine where's the water, where is it going. You've seen on the news the dams, the Mason County, the James River Dam, the Llano Dam. There's all these dams and stock ponds. And during the last drought, one of the Burnett County commissioners said, but we lived through the last drought and they are relying on dry wells. I mean, their groundwater is in bad shape. So they were going in and putting in stock ponds to make sure they had water. Well, that's a lot less water. They say in excess of 10,000 of those. And that's all water not making it into our Highland lakes. So this is very concerning, obviously, and why we are meeting with state legislators. So this is just a graphic that shows that 9 out of 10 this is the new normal, these inflows, and it just is an easier way to see it. So the inflows, the low rain that we receive from the El Nino, population growth, our hotter, drier climate that we're experiencing, and we just depleted too fast. We were full only 4.5 years ago. And these dams, we believe that these are the issues that we've got to wrap our hands around. And our legislative goals are big. We need to change the water code because those dams and stock ponds are allowed. And they can say, well, we have wildlife. They get a wildlife exemption. The other issue is the reason that those new permits, those new contracts were granted is because the Texas Water Code requires the reserve is not protected. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's considered available water. It's not really a reserve. And so they are required to sell it. So they were required to grant those contracts, even though it technically falls in this reserve category. Arbuckle should be online at the end of the year. We're being repeatedly told that it's holding water and that it should be online, but that's still, in reality, it holds 40,000 acre feet. They have in their plan, if you go look at the water management plan, 90,000, and that's because they're assuming that they're going to get rain and it's going to fill more than once. So 90,000 is not an active number that they can count on. It's what they're hoping for, and it's an assumption that we are concerned about. We won't know for years. We won't know if that 90,000 acre feet is real, but they're selling contracts like it is. We are trying to work with the legislators to look at xeriscaping and how do we incentivize that with, much like they do solar panels, if you can get rebates, if there's some way, tax breaks, what can we do to help people that choose to go to a more native landscape? What can be done to help people transition to that? We are working on understanding the impacts of the dams and how do we change the water code with the wildlife exemption, or at least get them registered so we know and prevent future ones. But we are committed to this next water management plan that'll be opened March of 2025 and making sure it's more protected for everybody. And that's what I have for y'all. Do y'all have any questions? Yes.
I've got a question. So you focused a lot on the inflow, so to the Highland Lakes. So all the factors for that are going to be rainfall, stuff coming from upstream to downstream, and then you mentioned stock ponds, the fact those are proliferating. What other factors that y'all have identified?
Well, the Ivy Dam really affected us. The Ivy Dam took away 60% of our watershed. And I don't think they recognized that it was going to have that impact. And when it was originally created, my understanding is it was also supposed to open like other dams and they could release water into the Highland Lakes. But apparently there was a flaw and the Corps of Engineers has shut that off and it will never be opened. So we lost 60% of the watershed and now we have all these impoundments. And we have a drier area. So every time it rains, even when they do get rain, the ground soaks it up immediately. So for us to get the runoff, we've got it's this horrible cycle. Even when they do get rain, it gets soaked up. Okay, well, the next rain, we'll get some runoff, but that rain doesn't tend to come. So in time. So it's been a few weeks that I've seen any rain in the upper basin, but that really is there's nothing above us that's going to provide inflows. So I had to walk 400 yards to get to water on the Colorado River that flows into Lake Buchanan. And it was a trickle. I actually have a picture of it I'm happy to share with y'all, but it was literally a channel marker in the brush on the side, and I could walk all the way across the Colorado River that's feeding to Lake Buchanan.
So where is the Ivy Dam? Pardon my ignorance. Where is it?
No, it's more of the West Texas. Let me go back to, I think I can share with you exactly where it is. So it's right above that tip. That's the OHIV dam.
Where your mouse is?
Sorry, right here.
Oh, okay. Up near
So-
Abilene. Okay.
So let's see if I'm able to zoom in on that. Abilene, right in Abilene area.
Okay.
And obviously they have their own water issues. It's very dry up there, so they needed to create water,
Sure.
but currently there are no new water supplies planned for the upper basin. They are talking about, my understanding is rural conversations, piping water in from the Sabine River on the Texas-Louisiana border to Buchanan. That is a long-term project. That is not something that's going to save us.
That's a long way.
That's a long ways to pipe water. The last drought, they actually talked about trying to pipe water in like oil through the Great Lakes. That's longer. So, but it is, my understanding is that is one of the options they're looking at. They did go tour San Antonio. San Antonio gets water from many different areas. They don't rely on just one area. And they use desal. And so I think some of the desal can help us take pressure off the Highland Lakes for people in the lower basin and especially the ag customers.
Where do they desalinate? Corpus?
And there's a huge project going on down there right now with the Corps of Engineers and the city of Corpus Christi. And they're all working together to figure out how do we turn that water into drinkable water. But the other thing it can be used for, which would be fantastic, we have environmental flows that take a lot of water. And they're not in the firm contracts, but yet it's a federal mandate that they're released. So they have to release a minimum of 15,000 acre feet a month, but it's not listed as a firm contract. So if they could, that's something, and it's to flush Matagorda Bay. There's oysters, there's a bluefish, they're always trying to keep the salinity level down there, but they're using our drinking water to do it. Desal is something that could definitely take the pressure off that requirement as well.
Do you know how much water is desalinated out of Corpus Christi?
I don't know right now because it's all in testing mode.
I had one other question. The map with the Pacific Ocean temperatures.
Pacific Decadal Oscillation is what that's called.
Do you know? So it's all red on the left, and there's a blue spot on the right that indicates the drier years coming up, right?
Right.
So, do you know what the temperature variation is between the red and the blue there? Do you have any
I
idea?
do not recall.
I was just curious.
Legend. You zoom in on the
Yeah,
legend.
the legend might be in Celsius. I'm not sure, but it
Let's
may be some
see.
kind of difference. I'm not
That'd
sure.
be useful.
I was just curious.
Well, it is something I can get you because our VP of Technical Resources, he is very on top of this, and he would be happy to share and know all of that information. It's cold enough that we were concerned about it. And
Well, it's just interesting to me. Like, I know the Pacific Ocean is generally cold. So there's red in that photo. I'm like, well, why did they choose that? And what's the difference between them?
Well, the difference
there's
is
between-
2015, that was when we had the flood. That was when, so that broke the last drought. That was the drought of record, ended in 2015, but that's what it looked like. That's what the forecast showed. In 2023, at the LCRA meeting, when they said, we've declared an El Nino, it's coming, it's going to flood, we're preparing, we're testing. We said, but this PDO thing is very concerning. And what do you think? And they said, we hear you, but we feel it's going to be overcome because this is such, and it was a strong El Nino. I mean, California is flooding. They had
Oh, yeah,
no
they've
water
had a
problems.
forest fire in 2 years. Yeah.
Yes. So it just didn't work for us this year. And unfortunately, our lakes are at 42%. So we really needed it. And it just didn't come through for us.
Anyone else have questions?
When last we met, you had talked about the impact the businesses coming into the region are having on the water.
Yes. So semiconductor plants are really having an effect. They use 12 gallons of water per chip. So that's something else I would like to see when they do these water treatment plants. How can you treat it to the level that they could take care of the water requirements? But the Samsungs, Tesla's using a lot of water. Tesla's dumping their wastewater directly into the Bastrop area, and they are having a problem with water quality because of the sheer amount of wastewater that's coming out and being dumped directly, and we don't have the inflows to release to flush it. So the water quality in the Bastrop area is really declining as well because of this growth and the lack of water. We really need to figure out how do we get a pause, which I'm also told is legally not possible, but I feel like we're putting the wrong priorities. We need an infrastructure in place to get ready for this growth. We need to look at Phoenix. We need to look at other areas that have experienced this. I'm sure y'all saw this weekend, they're talking about Georgetown could be out of water in 6 years. That's real. That's terrifying. We all need to recognize that we have this potential, and conservation is so important right now. So to update you on the DCP, I don't know if y'all have seen the new drought contingency plan. If I have just a minute to talk to that.
Sure.
Okay. So LCRA enacted an emergency order last week, and it went into effect Monday. Everybody is only allowed, if you receive water from the Lower Colorado River Authority, you can only water once a week, which they jumped ahead, and that was an emergency order and changed to the drought contingency plan. But the new one currently, and again, it depends on y'all's contract with Round Rock and how you get your water, how it affects you. But the new plan does show that at 750, when we get combined storage of 750,000 acre feet, there will be that's a new trigger that we will go to once a week. And when we hit 600,000, which they project we'll be at in September, October, but in the future, that will mean no watering, hand watering for your foundations and trees, and that's it. So that is a serious thing, and it's open for public comments, and I would suggest y'all look into it and ask Round Rock how that affects you. But they are definitely, and there are hefty fines that they're going to be putting. They are on board with conservation, and we all have to look at this is all the water we have. So 70% of the water usage goes on lawns right now. We've got to figure out how to get that down.
One of your recommendations, the items you're working for is for increased xeriscaping, incentives for xeriscaping.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any kind of idea for residences that do that, how much water that would save in the system, or keep from reduced usage for a homeowner?
It would take it. Well, I know one of our board members has a house in New Mexico. He's fully xeriscaped, drip system, and he says he uses 20% of the water that he uses here on the same size property. So I think that's a kind of a ballpark of what, but if we can use water more efficiently through drip system and native plants and get away from St. Augustine and these requirements. And I actually had a HOA call me and ask for help because they were being required to power wash their driveways with our drinking water. And they said, can you help? Well, I can, because I happen to know the general manager of your water district. So I called him and said, I know for a fact this is out of, that we're in the drought stage. It's not allowed, but HOA is still requiring it. Can you call? And then he nicely called and said, no, we're not power washing driveways and curbs right now. So it's really time that people just common sense of this is the drinking water we have. That's all we've got to rely on right now.
Shannon, I have two questions.
Okay.
First, Does the TCEQ have anything to do with how a dam is determined, where it's gonna be placed or anything? And if not, who's responsible for it? And who should be correcting the mistake? Why are we living with this?
Unfortunately, it's a big dam. It can't be corrected. They're looking for new water supply, but yes, TCEQ was heavily involved with that.
And then my second question is, I know part of the presentation that Samsung did to the Commissioners Court was that they would have a high volume of water that would be repurposed and recycled and purified, whatever. And that was part of why they got along with this. And then they were going to get water from Milam County, I think, and not impact Williamson County and non-residential areas. But of course, everyone depends on that water. So it sounds like we need to talk to the Commissioners Court and say, why aren't they holding up their end of the bargain?
I've reached out to them several times trying to understand, and I can't get a return call. So if you have any input, I mean, those are, and they're courting, the governor was courting another semiconductor plant that requires a massive amount of water. It's time that we look at the businesses that we court to move here in this welcome mat that we have on Texas and say, is this a good fit for the infrastructure that we have? And if not, then what are we going to do to make it work? But right now, we've got a lot of people dependent on our water supply. This isn't like the grid. This isn't something that can just be fixed. I had a man come meet me. I did a town hall for Lake Buchanan, and he got there an hour and a half early, and he was probably in his 90s. And he came in his World War II vest, and he wanted me to know that he was a boy in Buchanan and Burnett area during that drought of the 50s. And he was standing there with his pail. I mean, it must have been his dad's vest. But anyway, he was standing there with his pail for the train to come to bring him water for his water ration. And he said, I want you to know I see the same thing happening. And I hold him in my heart every day that that's what we have to make sure. I don't even know if our train system could cart water, and especially for 2.5 million people. Imagine the drought of the 50s to where we are now. This is really difficult, and decisions have to be made to protect our water. Any other questions? I'm sorry, I'm not a ray of sunshine. Trying my best to provide information and educate people because it is so important. 70% of our water is going on our lawns. And I do know that the city of Austin is extending their purple pipe to use to try and reduce their water. They are a model of how to reduce water usage. And apparently their purple pipe is going to be extended to even existing residential homes, which would be fantastic. But I don't know how to expand that across the board, but at least it's a good pilot.
Well, what's a purple pipe?
I'm sorry, it's treated water that's not drinkable,
Oh,
but it's
okay.
treated for lawns.
Gotcha.
So it's perfect for us to use for irrigation.
Gray
Like
water.
gray water?
Gray
Yes,
water.
kind of like gray water.
Okay.
I think it's a little cleaner than gray water maybe, but it's about gray water.
In your discussions about the xeriscaping, I know some of the HOAs have policies, that either prevent it being done or limit how much property can be xeriscape. Is that something that you're going to address with the legislature?
Yes, that's something we're trying to. We've already started discussions actually back in October to how do we get around that because it is a requirement. And things that HOAs can do, it's not just taking the control from them. They can still decide. People could have to submit a plan. What is your yard going to look like? People get scared of thinking it's all rock. No, you can make xeriscaping beautiful. But the sad thing is they've had people submit plans, $40,000 plans for their new yard, and HOAs are declining it because they can. And that should not be allowed. If somebody's willing to invest the money and tear up their St. Augustine and put in something that's more native and will reduce water usage, they should be allowed to do that. So yes, absolutely. We're working with the representatives to figure out how we do that together.
Thank you. Good.
Anything
Anyone
else?
else? All right.
Well, I'm always available if
Thank
y'all
you.
have questions. And I'm at every LCRA meeting, so I usually have the latest information. Do you come?
I have not been in a while.
Okay. Well, I'm on the second row if you ever want to come sit with me.
Okay.
Appreciate you coming this evening.
All right.
Shannon, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shane.
I would leave some business cards if anybody would like
Please
those. And we do need volunteers if anybody's interested, especially to just get the word out in your area, because I'm in Lakeway. So if y'all can help expand to your residents, I'm happy to. I mean, if y'all know, you're having an HOA meeting, whatever I can do to help, I'm here.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, let's jump right quick to the consent agenda. Ms. General Manager, do we have anything that needs to be removed from the consent agenda?
I do not. We made a couple of corrections to the minutes, which have already been made, and to a couple of the election documents. But they've all been given
Consent
to the
agenda's good to go.
directors, so we're good.
All right, hearing that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Smith,
Second.
second by Director Stemco. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Consent agenda is passed. All right, let's jump. I skipped item number 5, Parks Committee. What do we have for that? We don't have Texas Landscape here, so.
No,
Rely
there
on-
was an emergency and Brian couldn't attend. The only thing I really have is that starting March 1st, we go into back to our once weekly schedule for our parks and the community center. They've done the mulch in our parks, so we're all up to code there. Let's see what else was going on. I have asked them to start working on a design for our corner where the new Great Oaks Bridge was put in. Our corner there at Great Oaks and Harryman. It's just a bunch of mulch right now, but
Is that where the benches and trash?
that's
can
right
are?
on this side of it. That's right on this side, and across the trail. That's our big corner there. We, due to all the tree damage that we had and everything, we did a bunch of cleanup down there. The sidewalk and everything was changed. So we had talked, I think, last meeting or the meeting before,
Right.
that once Williamson County finished what they did, that our mud will need to do something to dress up our corner, because that's obviously the entrance to our mud. Either maybe doing a big rock sign the way we have for our neighborhoods and our parks, something like that. So we're working on that right now.
You're aware of all the wire that's laying out down there?
Down at Olson Meadows,
No, over where you're talking about, in the corner, just on this side of the underpass. There's just a ton of wire that's been left down there.
on our side?
I think it's on our
Southeast corner?
side. Yeah. I got a picture.
Yeah.
I was going to send it to you. but-
Yeah, I'm not at all aware of that. I mean, unfortunately, the new Great Oaks Bridge is already being tagged with graffiti.
I think that's our stuff.
That
Or-
looks like on the other side at Brushy Creek.
I mean, it's on this side of Great Oaks.
Is it on our side?
But I think that's where the doggy water fountain is that doesn't work.
Yeah, that's our side.
Okay,
Yeah, the bench is just behind the camera.
yeah. So that's just beyond between there's a tree there.
When did you take this picture?
I did a walkthrough 2 days ago.
Interesting, because I was just there, because this is our corner.
Mhm.
That's why AT&T had their outage.
So if
I mean, I
anybody-
was
if
just
anybody needs
there,
heavy-duty work,
I think it was Thursday with Brian, and it wasn't there then. So I don't know, but we'll check on that. So wire,
Yeah, I just noticed that. I said, well,
yeah, that
that's
does,
weird because
well, that is very weird. You got that? Okay, so, let's talking about the corner.
sorry.
That's okay. Oh, graffiti up under the bridge, the brand new
Yeah.
bridge in that parking area.
I saw that too.
I spoke with Williamson County Parks today. I mean, this is going to be kind of a strange thing. Is this Parks' responsibility or is it roads' responsibility because it was a bridge? But they're going to try and coordinate and figure out what's going on. But there's some more and more graffiti down there. But other than that, that's pretty much what I have
Okay,
for parks.
very good.
Oh, well, that's for landscape, not for parks. That's landscape. Go ahead.
Landscape.
That's it.
Okay, no projects pending or offered at this point?
Oh, well, we'll go ahead and go, just
Do
roll
cover
it
that
all
later.
together with Parks. Parks Committee, we will be, riding the district next week on the 6th. We have a vendor, approved vendor through Buy Board. It's gonna come out there. We have access to landscape design, and we're gonna start looking very strongly at our park improvement plans to replace all of our equipment. The one thing that I would like to get the temperature of the board on is it is time for us to make a decision about our tennis courts. Are we going to, they're at the end of their life. The last couple of companies that we've asked to come and we've sent pictures, they came out and they're like, you can't fix those cracks anymore. It's, so we're,
You have to dig it up and repave it.
we'll have to,
How
and
big
then
how
it
big are they?
becomes, do we want to put in another asphalt court or do we want to do a concrete court?
Well, I mean, how many courts are there?
2.
2, all right.
So if the board wants us to move forward with that, we'll go out and start working on a proposal to have the courts removed and redone. Do you have any preference in asphalt versus concrete?
Concrete.
I'd like to see the cost for each.
Yeah, I agree with Jessica.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind hearing from the residents what they prefer.
Well, it's
I don't
going
pay-
to
I don't
completely
pay.
depend on the tennis player. I mean, I can
Right.
tell you what information I've gotten so far. Most of the schools and such are going to concrete courts now, and it's because of the maintenance issues. They just last longer. There are those tennis players that say asphalt plays better. It's not as it is a more forgiving surface, if you will, but most of the schools and the other entities that are putting in courts are doing concrete.
Well, like Jessica said, probably be cost.
And the synthetic
Interesting.
courts, they're just so over the top expensive or they don't last.
I haven't found anyone that has very much experience on the longevity of them. So our courts get a lot more use than I think that we ever really realize. Our residents really love it, and they are really starting to complain about the surface degrading.
I would venture to say, especially considering the fact that we were just told that, I mean, we've got like serious drought issues. We're going to have serious heat this summer. I would venture to say that an artificial kind of court is not going to last very long. We'd probably be having the same conversation in a couple of years to replace that.
I mean, concrete will last, it just gets hot. Well, so does limestone.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, concrete and asphalt both. Concrete just will last longer. It just does. I mean, we see what happens with our roads. I mean, and the temperatures and all of that. My expectation is that the cost will be somewhat higher, but I don't know that. But if you look at the amount of maintenance costs with the asphalt courts, you know, is it time for us to go ahead and just do what's in the best interest of the district as far as maintenance going forward? And of course, everyone has asked for us to stripe it for pickleball when we redo it. So that will be part of the conversation. But if the board's
Yes.
okay with it, I will go ahead and get that out there.
So you're not going to ask the county who they use for chip and seal to redo it?
Ah! Sorry.
We're going to come to roads in a minute,
Just
but
as-
yeah. And I just want the board to, we've been planning to redo our parks. The first real discussion started in 2018. And then, of course, COVID hit 2020 and just everything stopped. 2021, 2022, we've just been dealing with all of the resulting such from COVID and back orders and all of that. This is a good time, I think, in our district's time frame for us to be doing this. We've been setting aside money for this for 10 years and budgeting for it starting in 2018. So we have the funds to do it.
We've got money in the parks budget.
And in my estimation, I'm just your general manager, but there will be cost benefits to us to trying to do it all as one large project. Depending on, their staffing, et cetera, not all of our parks, I don't think are going to be torn up at the same time. But if we can find the right vendor, Parks Committee is going to be intimately involved in this. I think the economy of scale will possibly work to our benefit.
So it'll work to our benefit in terms of attracting a vendor who would want to take the time and effort to bid the
We keep
project.
running up against that with
Yeah.
these small issues,
Yeah.
like the work that needs to be done on the community center.
Yeah.
I mean, we may need a new
Even
roof on
getting
this
the
building.
offices built there, that wasn't a big enough job for a lot of people.
That's exactly right. So the more we can
Put in the proposal.
put in and just go
So
ahead
we
and
get it
bite
in
the
there.
bullet. Exactly.
I think it's just something we need to pursue clearly. The courts are being diminished.
They are. And
It's been a while. It's time.
Yeah.
What is the goal to have it done this year?
if I can find a vendor, it would be great. Because Fern Bluff, I think, is the first park that we are going to want to rehab. And so that whole park could be torn up at the same time.
Right.
Have the tennis courts done and the playscape and such. One more thing about the parks. Fern Bluff has that little, very small soccer field that's back behind the pavilion that's there. We do not, and I wish Cindy was in here, for years, we've not had anyone asked to use that as soccer practice or anything. They prefer Olson Meadows. That area is good to have some open space down there for people that, different types of parties and such that they have. But that would also be kind of the perfect area to expand our park equipment just a little bit. That long strip right there, the number one thing that was in our survey that people were specific about that they wanted in our park rehab was a zip line. And that soccer field would be perfect.
Zip line. Isn't that dangerous?
No,
Could we keep it from getting destroyed?
um,
Zip line?
they are made very, very well. And the one that Brushy Creek put in over there in Pepper Rock Park, I don't think you can go there at any time of the day that there isn't a kid or an adult on that silly thing.
I didn't know they have one. Okay.
They do.
I'll have to check that out.
They do. And I wrote it.
Ooh.
It was super
You
good.
wrote it?
I did.
So you've test drove.
It helped me, so.
There's not enough beer in this
Yeah,
house.
we're gonna test the limits with you.
But I'm just throwing that out there. We're going to look at the design and everything. We know we're taking out the sand volleyball pit, so that whole park area is going to be redone. I don't know yet. And Zach, you'll be able to help me with this. That park all of our parks except for Olson Meadows, and Veterans, I think, were built with Texas Parks and Wildlife grants. With some money from Texas Parks and Wildlife. I don't know if we're going to need to submit proposals to them, which we have to replace equipment, and we're only going to put better equipment in. But I don't know if we have to submit to them
Yeah, we'll have to go back and look at the grants themselves. I've dealt with that in other districts where they went in to do improvements, and depending on the decade that the grant was offered, the rules are different sometimes, but they are kind of pro forma, and it's 200 pages of federal regulations on what you can and can't do with your parks. What I found where districts typically run into roadblocks or speed bumps is whenever they want to start implementing fees and charging one district residents one fee versus out of district residents. There's a lot of rules that they get applied to those uses of reservation, reserve courts, things of that nature. So if we're not going down that road, the chances are high that we're not going to run afoul of anything, but we definitely need to go back and look at the grant
Okay.
language from that era, if you will. Pardon, I wouldn't know what else to call it, because I know some of those are several decades old.
I don't think we're going to start doing that. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out while we're talking about parks. There's two schools of thought as far as, a community's parks. They're either wanting to attract outside users to come to their area, or they're more focused on, concentrating on the residents and taxpayers that are here. I felt very comfortable telling the vendors that, no, our district, we have Texas Parks and Wildlife grants. We have people come and use our parks. They rent the pavilion for birthday parties, etc. But our big goal is it to be the biggest, brightest, park in the area, so that all of a sudden we start getting all of this outside interest. We don't have the parking space in any of our parks to accommodate that. So unless everyone has a different opinion, and I think our goal is to upgrade, and not concentrate on being the biggest, brightest sparkle bauble in the
Yeah, I'm down with that.
in Williamson County. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, that's not the goal.
That's not that I felt comfortable with that. I know you all pretty well.
So yeah, my opinion's always been to have a resource available to the residents for the residents to use. So this is someplace we can walk to and enjoy.
That's right. Well, that's water code. It's
Not-
recreational facilities for the inhabitants of the district. That's
Exactly.
supposed to be what we do. And you are all aware of all of the neighborhoods that are going in all around us that aren't putting in parks. So we're getting more and more use as these neighborhoods go in. And I know it just changed. They used to demand developers set aside X amount of area, and I just don't think they do that much anymore. And we've actually had some residents call me that are very concerned about that. They're like, all of these people are moving in, none of these neighborhoods, they're just going to fill up our parks. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Okay.
And in fact, that's true.
Each of those houses drinks more water and puts more water on their lawns also. Going back to the previous presentation earlier today.
Well, I don't know. Have you seen my lawn?
Well,
No, I'm just kidding.
Mine's brown.
I
No,
do
you're
know at
correct.
Brightwater, we're getting more and more large events there, like large parties.
Mhm.
You know where I live. Parking will be up and down that street.
No, that's exactly right. And we try very, very hard. We can't do anything about the people that just show up.
Right. I mean, and when I look at it, it looks like family use, like kids and things and all that, and it's great. But there's much more use than there has been in the past. So I'm thinking it is people that maybe.
That is 100% correct. I mean, you are correct, because I know what's on our park calendar and who's rented our parks. And all of a sudden on a Saturday afternoon, there's 100 people at the park. Where'd they come from? They're not our residents. I wouldn't expect, because they would call us and say, look, I need the pavilion for the Saturday.
It's public streets, but literally, if you can't park in your driveway, you might not be able to park near your home.
No, that's exactly right. And I think the board made some really good decisions a few years ago when we just said there will be no commercial use at our parks, period. Okay? You can't rent it for a big, you know,
You can have your yoga class out there.
no,
on mats.
no.
You
And
can't-
so that has helped us try to manage it a bit more. We may need to even tweak some of that as we move forward. But I'm very excited. It's
Yeah.
going to be great.
Excellent. Okay, thank you for the park update. All right, next item on the agenda, number 8, 2024 directors election. We did have a deadline pass for people to file for election. The only candidates who applied were the 3 incumbent board members. So congratulations to everyone who applied and will be sworn in, I guess, in May.
Yes, sir. It'll be the meeting after the election.
So we do need a certification of unopposed election and an order canceling election. We need votes on both.
Actually, Mr. President, so you'll have the certification of unopposed status on page 24 of your packets. Note that date there in that second paragraph has been corrected for the document of record. So you have the certification there, and then the order follows starting on page 25. And so what we would need, Mr. President, is a motion to accept the certification and then approve the order canceling the election. Thereafter, I will transmit those to Wilco. Wilco will post a notice of the canceled election at each of the district's would-be election polling locations, and they will assess y'all a small fee for the administrative work they've done to date, but it won't be that pro rata share that we would have had if we had gone forward with the election. That's everything, really.
All right, very good. Do I have a motion for the certification and order canceling the election?
Well, I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Director
So well
Smith,
said.
Second.
second by Director Stemko. All in favor? All right, motion carries 5-0. Very good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Roads Committee, do we have anything? Ms. General Manager.
The only thing we have really is obviously the Great Oaks Bridge, but I did hear from our commissioner last week. The plans for the extension of Wyoming Springs, they're hoping to get it out to bid within the next few months. They are complete. And Commissioner Covey is very concerned about our elementary school. Not only just the increased traffic there, but the things that we have all spoken to the county about how it shuts down that one lane, several times a day. It shuts down the lane at pickup on Wyoming coming the opposite direction. It is a real nightmare, and they are very aware of it. Williamson County is. The problem is the ownership of that roadway, part City of Round Rock, part Williamson County. So there will probably be, I may have some updates for y'all moving forward, because it isn't just our residents now that are complaining about it. Since this creek bend has become so popular, it's making it difficult for people coming up to use Wyoming Springs, because all of a sudden they go to turn left and there's
The
2
road's
lanes
blocked.
that turn left. One of them can't. They can't because of the car stacked up there for the elementary school. That's an example.
Got it.
Utmost of importance, obviously, is the elementary school and any of the kids that are walking. I took that opportunity to speak to Commissioner Covey about the terrible traffic, stop sign running, etc. on Brightwater. So all of this will be a topic
But
of,
there's some at Broken Branch too, right?
oh, for sure.
Is the commissioner aware of the plan for the driveway behind the school that wasn't?
That our bypass drive, yes, every single time that comes up, they didn't do it for so long. There may be a real complication. It was brought up again that, well, it will cut across the mud trail. And I said, our district is more than willing to redo our little Fern Bluff trail there, et cetera. And have that driveway put in that goes to the back of the school. That has never been an issue. This board, many of you have been on here a long time, that we
It's
wouldn't
being
have an
used as an
issue with it. I felt
excuse.
very comfortable speaking
Yeah.
for the district because what's the alternative, But there are other forces at play here. But what I can say, great success, because we were getting a lot of phone calls here at the MUD office, and our standard answer became, we so understand, we agree with you, but the MUD has absolutely no authority and no power to do anything about the roads. We request, we talk, but what you can do is contact Williamson County. Here's the Road and Bridge Department. So I think an awful lot of people started calling, and they've had some meetings with some concerned residents. So that's a good thing, because
It is a good thing.
it is a Williamson County issue, and they're aware of it. They know that when they open the Wyoming Springs extension, it's just going to exacerbate the problem we have now.
And you talked about the fact that the speed limit on the new extension
Yes,
going from 40 down to 30 right in front of the school, or right
Yes.
as they cross Brightwater. And,
so I think there's a whole lot, hopefully there'll be a lot of conversations that are going to be happening with them, knowing that the extension is going to be built. One of the things I recommended is at the front of the elementary school, there is one way in, one way out at that driveway. I mean, at the front of the school. The driveway comes in, you do a loop, and you come out. Schools were built back then with that design because they felt like that it was the best security measure to know, who's in the driveway. They could literally come in because of the little baseball field, all that property that's at the front of the school, do a horseshoe driveway there. And you could queue up a lot more cars in and out, and that could take some pressure off if the school is willing to do some of that or allow some of that.
So would you have cars all entering from two entries, or just one entry and just making?
There's a lot of ways that you can do that to try and get more cars in a driveway rather than on the street. You could have it two-way and have a crossing guard, which they already do.
Yeah.
They're at the driveway helping them go through. Or you could have them queuing up, going to the front of the school, exiting at the other end. But as we all know, you've got that line of cars and it keeps going, and that front car, their kids, not moving quite as fast. So there's some ways, there's some things that could help with. I just don't know if the school district would be open to it.
All right.
They haven't been thus far.
When it comes to pass, they're gonna have to reconsider.
And source.
All right, let's move on to agenda item number 10, general manager report, operations report.
Well, I've just spoken a long time, so that's all I have.
Very good. You've hit on everything in there.
It's all in there.
Used up all your saliva.
All right, let's
I need a
start-
drink. Yeah.
Start going through the committees. In budget committee, Director Barnes, do you have anything?
Nope.
Nothing to add. Okay, I don't have anything either. Parks and Rec committee, we pretty much exhausted that, right? District Community Center committee.
Those doors in this room look great.
We're still working on our door replacement. We have some hiccups. We're working on it. Our community center needs a facelift. I'm working to try and figure out what do we do. I have a call in to have the roof assessed by our insurance company. We've now heard from a couple of people that they're like, "Oh my God, I think y'all need a new roof." So it's time. Building's 20 years old. We've got some damage to some of the stucco because of the hailstorm. We need some major power washing of our white rock. Our pergolas need to be power washed and restained. Need I go on? But these are just maintenance issues. I mean, it's what we do at our homes. This is what we've got to do down here. So we're out trying to gather some prices. That is one of those situations to where economy of scale and being able to find vendors, it may be best for the district to find a general contractor that can deal with all the different subs for all the different pieces at the building, for the work that the building needs to be done. So we're looking at that rather than trying to do it project by project by project.
Are you looking at specific companies already, or you're just going to go out and search?
We're going out and searching. And then we'll, if that's the way we think we should go, then we'll send it out in a bid.
Okay.
Well, obviously we have to send it out in a
Right.
bid, but maybe we'll find some that we're not privy to.
I just,
This no doubt is the original roof, right?
Yes, it is.
Any chance it might have had a warranty from the original builder?
Yeah, no.
I mean, you know, asphalt shingles have a lifespan, and so do metal roofs.
Well, that's why you have insurance. But if there was a warranty for a metal roof, I mean, with us being more than 20 years into it, there's no warranty that goes that long, ever. But as I said to you before, once we kind of figure all of this out, we'll find out. I mean, if we're entitled to a new roof because of damage, we'll work with TML and all of that. Of course we will. We just need to find out what's going on.
All right. Deed restriction committee, Director Horton, do we have anything?
There was we got some ACC paperwork in for the house that had the color change simple we talked about last time.
Okay.
Looks like that's in the works of being handled by the committee. Nothing other major in the works. So I did go take a look and kind of gave my input to them. But yeah. Other than that, things are okay.
Very good.
Nothing new to report.
All right. Security committee, Director Barnes, do we have anything of note?
No.
All right. Very good. Communications, Director Smith, do you have anything for us?
well, as you saw, we had a MailChimp go out talking about the upcoming bulk trash pickup, as well as our guest speaker here. I'm thinking we're talking about some other ideas, some other line items for another newsletter, a more expanded newsletter. I have to go back and look at my notes because I lost them. So I got to find them from our last discussion on that. And I'm just kind of toying with, maybe we kind of summarize what that discussion was here, but I'm trying to figure out how I would do that in a paragraph or two. So other than that, those are my thoughts. I'd like to see if I can get something going for next month.
You just triggered a thought. Have you considered getting bids for trash removal anymore? Have you thought about that any further?
Our district wide?
Yeah.
No, we haven't moved on that.
Are we satisfied so far?
Been fine. I mean, I know they'll be sitting out new carts. At some point, the trucks, everything's going to be changing with the new company and such.
Are they still using the automated,
Oh yeah,
trucks? Are they going to use it for
everyone's
both?
going to
Yeah,
those.
I don't see that changing.
I mean, are they going to do it for recycling as well?
That's the expectation.
Right.
And do not be surprised. We're very fortunate in our contract that we're allowed to put things out,
Right.
6 bags outside of our cart. That's going to be going away. We have our current contract that goes until 2026. But I can tell you that area wide, pretty much industry wide, they're going to be doing away with that.
So what's industry standard now? Special pickup or more bulk collection days?
Special pickup or you'll pay extra
Or
per
more
bag.
bins. Or more bins. Pay for more books.
It's interesting. My daughter's up in Mansfield. They pick up twice a week.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where
no,
is she?
yeah.
She's in Mansfield, Texas. Near,
Well, we originally had twice a week garbage
did we?
many years ago.
Wow,
Yeah.
I don't ever remember that. God, I haven't
That
been
just
here
goes
long
to
enough.
show how long I've lived here.
I guess so. I just
No,
thought
we
it was-
did. We
yeah,
started out with twice a week.
Yeah, because they. she
Yeah, really
has-
trashy people. huh?
Yeah, obviously.
Guy with a cart and a donkey.
Yeah. Oh, harsh. Rich,
Hey,
harsh.
you put it out there.
I did.
I'll take a swing.
I did.
All right.
That was good.
Next item up is attorney's report on ongoing litigation. We do need to discuss that in executive session. So according to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, the Texas Open Meetings Act authorizes the board to convene an executive session for certain purposes. These purposes include receiving legal advice from its attorney, section 551.071. So at this time, it is 7:11, and we will move into executive session at 7:11.
Jeremiah's on his way. So.
Yeah. We'll wait until he reports back.
How long were you in Disney, Kevin?
We flew in on Sunday, a week ago Sunday.
Mhm.
Our first day in the park was Monday. So we were